With a 2-minute opening by David Vahedi.
Before the clock starts, if any of you do have questions, the green questions, and if you don't have the green paper, just they're over here by the water machine over here. If you have them after it started, just go ahead and hand it to Wayne. He'll be walking around. Just raise your hand up with the green form, and he'll pick it up and bring it up to me.
Matt, and who's the timekeeper?
Take the bottle then.
Sure, thank you so much. Good evening, everyone. I'm David Vahedi. Thank you for having me here. 2 exciting days, tax day and the CD5 forum. I'm hoping that we can give you some excitement to your slow who's decided to stay and see if the second half of the ballot is as good as the first. Why I'm running for the City Council and CD5 and why I need your help. As many of you know, I've served for the last 10 years on my homeowner's board just on the other side of the hill. And as many of you know, 8 years ago, I co-founded my neighborhood council just on the other side of the hill. And I started to notice some things, even as a lifelong resident, until you become an activist, until you become a community leader, you don't get what's going on down in City Hall. And what did I start to notice? The same things that you noticed, that there's absolutely no transparency down at City Hall. What do I mean by that? We had a billboard settlement a couple years ago, and the City Council says, well, we really didn't know what we voted on, even though they transferred billions of dollars of our beautiful city to special interests. We had Prop B on the ballot March 3rd, and I'm so proud of you that you stood up with me and voted it down. This district, 62% of you voted against it. But it's the same thing. You heard 6 other candidates, actually 5 other candidates, say that, you know what, the process was bad, but we need solar. Well, you know what? Process is incredibly important, and it goes to the transparency issue. For $3 billion, I could put 30,000 homes, have solar on top, never pay another electric bill, and save a lot more than 400 kilowatts. We saw it with term limit expansion 3 years ago in 205. City Council, instead of being straight with the people and said, hey, we got a good group, we need another 4 years, they said, we're finally putting term limits for life. And some ethics that they could have passed. The transparency has to be put back in place. And at the end of the day, we got to make sure that City Hall knows that it does not, that we do not work for City Hall, but that City Hall works for us. And I promise you, on May 19th, I'll make sure that's known.
Thank you very much. That is, before Paul goes on, is Sean here? Our person who takes care of the soundboard.
No, he's on. Why?
Can you turn on the one with the red cord? Okay. Now, Paul Koretz.
Well, thank you all for being here. I was actually kind of stunned at the first debate. That was pretty exciting. I apologize in advance if we're not quite as contentious. But we'll try our best. Some of you may be tired of seeing me. I've represented the Valley off and on for a long time. I started 25 years ago when I worked in Marvin Browdy's field office doing potholes and getting trees trimmed and getting stop signs put in. And I represented the Valley in the state legislature for 6 years in the state assembly. And I think all of you know, I did probably my most notable local work in the Valley, speeding up the 405-101 interchange improvements, being the first one to question the 101 expansion, which would have taken 1,000 homes, which led to putting a stop to that. You all know I worked closely with SOHA for those years as well. And always would attend your toy drives and your neighborhood cleanups, the things that I could get back to on the weekend, and try to speak to SOHA meetings as often as I could fly back on a Wednesday from the state legislature. And you know, I've represented a district that's part Valley and part West Side, and I was one of the folks that actually spent as much time focused on the Valley and did as much constituent work, as much legislation to help the Valley as the rest of my district. And I'll be the same kind of representative focusing on the Valley as I was in the state legislature. And I love the Valley. I spend a lot of time here. I have a lot of friends. I do my shopping. I go to the best acupuncturist in the world, Neil Miller, if you know him or involved in the Sherman Oaks Chamber of Commerce. I've done a lot of work here in the Valley. A lot of folks will make promises when they run for office. I've actually done it. That's why I've got a tremendous amount of support here in the Valley, which I'll talk about at another time because I'm running out of time. So thank you very much for having me here and for your consideration.
Thank you very much. Okay, now David. Question for Paul Koretz.
Oh, Paul, what do you see as the things that we have in common?
That's an interesting question. I think the most interesting thing is the two candidates that finished in a lot of ways have the most in common. I think the two of us were the most in favor of slowing down the rampant overdevelopment that faces this district. And I think either way, the residents have already won, because one way or the other, we're going to see a dramatic change in that regard. I think we're both concerned about transportation. We've both been involved in neighborhoods in various ways. I started a neighborhood watch a number of years ago, and I serve on my neighborhood council policy committee. You've been very involved in your neighborhood council and neighborhood associations for a number of years. So I think in those ways, probably the ways that count the most, in a lot of ways we're very much alike.
Thank you. Paul, question for David.
Well, I probably have a less genteel question. My apologies. I mean, most of the campaign, you said that you wouldn't take contributions from outdoor advertising companies. And yet you've taken a contribution from the owner of a huge outdoor advertising company who has the contract for the monopoly, 10-year monopoly contract for all of the bus benches in the city of Los Angeles, which is about a $100 million contract, which is up in January.
The question is?
And the question is, why do you claim one thing and do another?
Okay, Paul, you got to be factually correct. And for 6 months, I let you get away with a lie. It ends tonight. First of all, bus benches are not billboards. Number two, I said I would not accept from billboard companies. As you know, you took $3,000 from Clear Channel just a couple years ago for your state senate race. Joe Shoshani, one of your big supporters, has billboards in West Hollywood. You've taken billboard money in this race from a company that you claim doesn't have billboards in LA, but it may look for some in West Hollywood. So let's keep it factually correct. More importantly, he's been one of the great community leaders. We're talking about William Joe Mellon from the Subway Sandwich Shop and the Lamplight, that's worked really hard to keep the valley strong and safe for the community. And I think you shouldn't mischaracterize that $500 donation.
Thank you. David, question for Paul.
See, I had a couple here. I was hoping we'd keep it nice and peaceful, but...
The people want to know the difference between the two of you.
Well, I think there's huge differences, but after leaving the state assembly, you opened up a state senate committee and started raising money. Then you abruptly ran for water board. You then moved in the 5th district to run. And I'm not criticizing the fact that you lost the water board. That's not the issue. It's the fact that you went from water board to state senate, took a lot of special interest in that state senate race, and then decided to move into the 5th district in the last year. And how do you explain that series of events?
Well, the series of events was I intended to run for the water board and stay on it for 2 years, because I was running for one specific reason. It's one of the most corrupt bodies in the state of California. It's absolutely notorious. They are members that are supposed to be unpaid, yet they found a way to scam a number of meetings every month, and so they're paid $24,000 a year when they're constitutionally set to be paid nothing. They also have had members indicted, convicted, and put in jail for illegal contract activities. I could give you a 10-minute story about it, but the fact is, I thought I could do that for 2 years and clean up an agency that had some real serious problems. I think it would have been a great idea. Now, I did lose by 1% because I was unknown in most of the district, but I think there was nothing wrong with doing it. It was a great idea. It's something I could have done a lot of good in for those 2 years.
Thank you. Paul, question for David. One last question.